पदे पदे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी, जय तुलसी महारानी। जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी, जय वृंदा देवी। श्रीवृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवश्च कृष्ण भक्ते प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। श्रीवृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवश्च कृष्ण भक्ते प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवश्च कृष्ण भक्ते प्रदे देवी सत्यवते नमो नमः। वृंदा देवी की जय, तुलसी महारानी की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। Okay. जय प्रभुपद, जय प्रभुपद, जय प्रभुपद, शिल प्रभुपद। प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद, जय जय प्रभुपाद श्री गुरु चरण पद्मा केवल भगति सद्मा बंदो मोहे सावधान माते जहार प्रसादे भा ये भव तोरिया जाय कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो जहा होते गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य चित्ते ते कोरिया ऐक्य अरना कोरी हो मने आशा श्री गुरु चरणी रति ऐसे उत्तम गति जे प्रसादे पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते वेदेगा जहाँ रचवित श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोरे पद छाया शील प्रभुपाद पतित पावन दोय पदे लोयलो शरण लोयलो शरण जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद शील प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद श्री राधा श्याम सुंदर की जय, जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, श्री पंचतत्व भगवान की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय गौरनीता जय गौरनीता जय गौरनीता जय गौरनीता जय जय गौरा चंदे तिक शोभा की बजया ओ जय गौराचंदे आरतिक शोभा जानवी तटवने जगमन लोभा की बदखीने निताचा वामे गदाधर निकटे अद्वैता व्यास चक्रधार की बाबोशी आचे गोराचान रत्न सिंहासने आरती कोरेना ब्रह्मा आदिदेव गाने की बनरा हरि आदि कोरी चमर डुलाय संजय मुकुंद बासु घोषादि गाय की शंखा बाजे घंटा बाजे बाजे करताल मधुर मृदंग बाजे परम रसाल शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंख बाजे घंटा बाजे मधुर 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 बाजे शंख बजे घंट बजे मधुर 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 बजे शंख बजे घंट बजे मधुर 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 बजे निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल चंद्र जीने वदन उज्ज्वल गल दे सेवन मला करे जल शिवा शुक नारद प्रेमे गद गद भगति विनोद देखे गौरार संभार कि जय जय गौरा चांदे आरती शोभा कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते साम्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे. जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा. जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय. जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व. जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद. जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद. निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल. गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. शिल प्रभुपाद की जय.
जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस गुरुराजगाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदस्य श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतशत श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की, नमाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की, आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की, प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की, श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की, श्री मायापुर नवदीप धाम की, श्री मधुरा वृंदावन धाम की, श्री गंगा मई यमुना मई की, श्री भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की, निराज श्रीमद भगवद गीता की, निराज श्रीमद भागवतम की, ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की, हरि नाम संकीर्तन की, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की, all glories to the assembled devotees, Ananda Kodi Vaishnava वृंद की, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Guru and Gauranka.
Prahladaine Hiranyakasya Purvaksha Shilatanka Nakalaya Ito Narsingo Parato Narsingo Yato Yato Yamitato Narsingo Bahe Narsingo Hridaya Narsingo Narasimhamadin Sarananta Pradayam Tavakara Kamalavahe Naka Adbhuta Senga Dalita Hiranya Kasipo Dhanarvenga Keshavadita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Keshavarita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Narsinga Deva Jaya Narsinga Dev Narsinga Deva Jaya Narsinga Dev Jaya Narahari Jaya Narahari Narahari Jaya Narahari. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj Prahlad Maharaj Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. नरसिंह देव भगवान की जाए, प्रहलाद महाराज की जाए, शिला प्रभुपाद की जाए। प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।
Garland. Yagyas, please. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming. Everybody can move a little bit in the front. Please come more closer. Here we are very fortunate to have amidst us His Holiness Devamrita Maharaj, amidst us, a very senior disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Some brief introduction about him. Maharaj started life in an environmental conducive to the contemplation of the divine. After completing his studies at Yale University, he felt unable to pursue a materialistic life, but his dean firmly asserted, "You are a Yale man, you'll influence the world." And shortly afterwards, Devamrita Maharaj received Srila Prabhupada's books and made a thorough study of them before joining the temple in 1972. Maharaj took initiation in 1974 from Srila Prabhupada and devoted his life to sharing his Guru's teachings, distributing his books and serving at the BBT. In 1982, Devamrita Maharaj took sannyas initiation and in 2002 began serving as an initiating spiritual master in ISKCON. He is a member of the ISKCON's governing body since 2001. He is our local GBC zonal secretary, and the temple Maharaj is overseeing New York, New Jersey, Gitanagari, Australia, New Zealand, and many other areas. So let's welcome him with a loud Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balaba Giridharadhari. Gopi Janabal Laba Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Gopi Janaba Laba Giridharadhari. Jai Gopi Janaballabha Giridharadhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Amishapam Sabharajikajaya, Astatarasata Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jai Om Vishnupam Sabharajikajaya, Astatarasata Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki. Go Premanandi! Om Gyanachimidandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Today we will speak about the basic fundamentals of a real human civilization. As the years progress in this 21st century, more and more people are starting to realize that it's doubtful we have a real human civilization. As the political instability increases, as the economic uncertainty increases, as the environmental havoc increases, and the threat of military conflict increases, intelligent persons are thinking, what has happened to the human race? Why has it gone so off track? If we look at the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we find that Krishna presents the necessities of human society. We may think that Bhagavad Gita is a religious book that has nothing to do with the daily functioning of our individual life and the functioning of society. However, The Acharyas tell us that Bhagavad Gita is the handbook, the guidebook for a real human civilization. So in the 18th chapter, Krishna talks about the basic principles of peace and prosperity. Yagya, dana, tapa, karma. Nachajam, karyameva tat. These basic fundamental principles you can't do without if you indeed think you have a human society. So first of all, yagya. Sacrifice is the basis of a real humanity. Yagya vai Vishnu. Most people think that our human life is meant for finding our own fulfillment, for finding our own happiness, our own way. That is considered to be dharma these days. Here, Krishna, however, is telling you that sacrifice, yagya, is the actual central theme in a real human's existence. Sacrifice for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No matter what your occupational duty is, no matter what your ashrama is, single, married, renounced, so forth, all of human society must be focused on yagya. Once you understand that central focus of yagya, then you can understand why cows are so important. This is explained in the 8th canto, chapter 8. How to perform yagyas previous to Kali Yuga, you required ghee to make the sacrificial offerings. In this Kali Yuga, however, the yagya is chanting Hare Krishna. Nevertheless, the yagya goes on, whether in previous yugas as sacrificial fire ceremonies, or in the age of Kali, especially, you chant Hare Krishna. I wonder how many of you realize that when you gather together for Harinam, Kirtan, chanting together the glories of Krishna, that is yagya. And in this age of Kali, without the chanting of Hare Krishna together and individually, the doing fire sacrifices is pointless. No matter how costly and opulent you may make the show, without chanting Hare Krishna, it is all null and void. By your gathering here and chanting Krishna's glories today, you are participating in yagya, sacrifice. And we need to consider more deeply how all of human society should be centered upon yagya. Finding meaning in life, finding fulfillment in life through sacrificing for the senses of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in a demoniac society, you focus on satisfying your own senses. And every minute of the day, you're asking yourself the question, am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Are my senses being indulged? Am I being entertained? Am I being respected? Do I have social acclaim? Do I have beauty? Do I have wealth? Everything has become so me-focused, but not the real me, the illusory me, by which we think, I am this body, I am the mind. So the reward we get, better put, the punishment we get by not understanding what is yagya means social chaos, constant turbulence, wars, economic booms and busts. This is not what human society is meant for. Human society is meant to be peaceful and make progress going back to Godhead. If we take seriously what Krishna says in this verse, the 5th verse of the 18th chapter, Yagya Dana Tapa Karma, there must be the activities, karma, the activities of yagya, and then especially the other recommendations Krishna makes, the other requirements, apply to each ashram more specifically. Yagya applies to everyone, all human beings. If you call yourself a human being, you must be doing some kind of yagya. But what about dana, charity? That's especially for the householders. According to the Vedic Dharma, household life without charity makes no progress at all. The very essence of household life is giving, giving, giving. Those of you who have read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita or heard him talk about his childhood, he says that he can remember at the turn of the 20th century how before eating dinner, his father would go to the door of the house and invite any stranger who wanted to eat. He would invite them, please come take. And you may remember in the first canto, when Yudhisthira is questioning Arjuna, who's finally returned from Dwarka, Yudhisthira asks, have you failed to give charity to a needy person? You're a householder. Have you failed to do that? And you know about how the householder is instructed to go to the front door of the house and before eating, call up and down the street. Is anyone hungry? Is anyone hungry? Please come, please come. Is anyone hungry? And only then can the householder take his meal. So Prabhupada remembers how his father would always invite so many strangers. And Prabhupada himself, as a child, could detect, oh, some of these renunciants, some of these bubbas, they're not very authentic. But his father was very liberal. Come, come, sit down, please take. The point is that household life is meant for constantly giving. And then the spiritual nature of that ashram blossoms. And everyone is actually happy that way. Yagya, dana, tapa. Tapa, austerity. That's meant for the saffron set. They have to cultivate some kind of austerity, otherwise their saffron is meaningless. So Krishna is pointing out that these key elements of a human society are what bring about peace and prosperity. If you try to understand what's going on in the world today, you'll see increasing madness of bodily identification. No matter what continent, no matter what country, as people feel the pinch of material nature, as they feel economic constraints, political constraints, they go deeper into the bodily conception, not away from the bodily conception. You would think that when people see the mess of materialistic economics, materialistic politics, they would look for a spiritual solution. But unless they are directly educated by the Vaishnavas, they just go deeper into illusion. What is the answer to the problems of the day? More body identification. And how do you do that? You look for anyone or anything that can remind you, you are the body, and you embrace that. Thank you, thank you. I forgot for a while, but you are so kindly reminding me that I am the body. We are so grateful to you. We'll do whatever you say. This goes on all over the world. People feel a false sense of strength by body identification. This is how Maya works. You're feeling a bit confused. You don't really know which way to go. You don't know who you are, what your purpose in life is. Remember, you are the body. Your gender preference, your ethnicity, your land of birth, this is the everything. The more you remember that, the more powerful you become. This is Maya's propaganda. So I was explaining in New York City the other day how social scientists have pointed out that if people are simply in anxiety, it's hard to mobilize them. Anxiety is very, in of itself, very immobilizing. If you want to stir people up, you can't just have them in anxiety. What's going to happen next? I don't know what to do. All my options look bleak. That's Arjuna in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, remember? Oh, Krishna, I don't know. If we fight, there'll be a problem. If we don't fight, there'll be a problem. Every option looks uninviting. Every option looks bleak. And of course, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita ends with Arjuna dropping his bow, slumping seated on the chariot, eyes filled with tears, skin burning. Oh, Govinda, I won't fight. That's what anxiety does. So I was explaining that an alternative title of chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, in Bhagavad Gita as it is, the title of the chapter is Observing the Armies. An alternative title is The Yoga of Despair. Arjuna is overwhelmed with despair and anxiety, and the result is he's going to do nothing. He's immobilized, he's frozen. But if you're going to be a materialistic manipulator of society, you need people to spring into action. You need them into the mode of passion. And that means you have to make them angry. When people are angry, they can be mobilized. They can be manipulated into action. So the best way to make people angry is that your bodily group is being minimized. That's the cause of all your problems. So therefore, the solution is to identify more with your bodily designation. That's just half of the solution, though. The other half of the solution is you've got to find another group to hate. So this is the two-pronged approach. First of all, take shelter of your bodily identification. Be immersed more in that. Feel the strength from that. Feel the surety that you're on rock solid ground. I am this body. I am this bodily group. Then you know where the problems are coming from. They're coming from those in the other groups. So this goes on all over the world. And the result is more and more chaos, more and more suffering, more and more ignorance. But people don't see where all this ignorance and suffering originates. They haven't made it past the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. in which Krishna teaches you the ABCs of spiritual life, that you're not the body, you are a particle of spiritual consciousness, part of the supreme consciousness. So how can there be peace and prosperity? In fact, you see human society going the other way, doing all the things to make life more miserable, because identifying with the body simply produces misery. The Shastra explains that it's not innocent to think you are the body. What happens is that inevitably you must commit sinful activity, because by taking shelter of the body as the self, you're in illusion, and therefore you lose the ability to discriminate between what should be done and what should not be done. Even you may try to live a life of good karma, punya, but that's very difficult, because the bodily conception of life is so powerful. Sooner or later, you'll do a bad karma, papa. Remember in the 6th canto, the discussion between the Vishnu Duttas and the Yamadutas? The discussion they had as the Yamadutas were trying to snatch the soul of Ajamil from the body and take him to Yamaraj for judgment, and the Vishnu Dutas stopped them. So a whole debate ensued. So the Vishnu Dutas rightfully challenged the Yamadutas. Do you know what is Dharma? Do you know the system? You say you're representing Yamaraj, but do you know the codes of behavior? And the Yamadutas reply, we know what we're doing. Our job is to bring anyone who is sinful before Yamaraj. And they said, look, the Yamadutas plainly explained that, yes, we only go after the sinful people, but sooner or later, everyone in material existence commits sinful activities. And when they do, we are there for them. Why? Because the way of life in material existence is such that you're going to trip up somewhere, somehow, even if you try just to do good karma, pious activities, punya. Because of the force of the modes of nature, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, sooner or later, you'll make a mistake. And so the Yamadutas say, maybe not in this lifetime, but certainly in a future lifetime, you'll make a mistake. And when you do, we'll be there for you. So there's nothing innocent about thinking you're the body. All the transcendentalists in Vedic civilization accept this point. The impersonalists accept that you're not the body. The personalists know you're not the body. But this basic common understanding is unknown to most of the world. Although most of the world claims to be very progressive, very advanced, they can't understand that by their ignorance, the ignorance of bodily misidentification, they are causing such havoc to the planet. They don't know the source of all the trouble. So therefore, again and again and again, century after century, millennia after millennia, you see that when human beings in ignorance are feeling the pinch of material nature, feeling the economic, political problems, what do? They double down on body consciousness as a solution, as a way of getting relief. I am this body, you are of another body, you are causing all the problems. In this way, demoniac politicians manipulate the people and simply increase the suffering. So we would do very well to heed what Krishna is explaining in Bhagavad Gita. You need the basic components of yagya, dana, and tapa. Then you have a real human civilization. A civilization that makes progress away from the bodily conception of life to the reality that we are all Krishna's servants. Jivera Swarupoi, Krishnera Nityadas. Sometimes people have a very difficult time accepting that they are a servant because of so much ignorance, the cloud of ignorance covering the vision. People can't see that at every moment they are engaged in serving someone or something. This is the challenge that the Vaishnavacharyas make. You can't find 1 second in your life when you're not serving something or someone. Serving doesn't simply mean at work. Everyone knows what it's like to have a boss at work. You may be going to school. You have to do what your teacher or professor says. But that's not all. You're serving your own mind and senses, and serving other people's mind and senses. At every moment, every second, this is going on. Therefore, as you know, the Shastra says the Dharma, the inescapable essence of the living entity, is to render service. You can't get away from that. Therefore, the intelligent human being thinks, what's the best way to serve and who is the best one to serve? So Krishna presents in Bhagavad Gita that by serving him, you perfectly serve everyone else. The process of bhakti yoga, Krishna consciousness, is the best distribution system for helping others, because you're aiming your efforts at Krishna, devotional service to Krishna, and because everyone and everything is Krishna's energy, the benefit goes to everyone and everything. You found the root. And by putting all your efforts at the root, the whole tree becomes fortunate, all the branches, all the leaves. So this is the practical example of how Bhagavad Gita and Krishna's instructions are actually a solution that can solve the whole range of human problems. Sometimes people say that an emerging problem, a very rapidly emerging problem in the world, is so-called overpopulation. We were discussing before I came here with Madhupati Prabhu and others, how by the end of the year, India will be the most populous country in the world. It will surpass China. So environmentalists are worried. How can this planet sustain all these people? Some environmentalists are saying we've got to balance the population by making an equilibrium between the death rate and the emigration rate, those who are leaving a country, making that balance with the birth rate and those who are immigrating to the country. There has to be some constraints. Otherwise, the earth can never handle the crunch caused by such a huge number of human beings. The Shastra disagrees with that. The Shastra points out the problem with the world's population is not the quantity, it's the quality. If the population is of high consciousness, the earth can accommodate many more billions than who are present now. But because the human beings are of impure consciousness and neglecting their human mission, therefore nature restricts the supply of natural resources. And therefore you see so much rivalry and conflict about who controls where the fossil fuels come from, who controls where the precious minerals come from. Where's the uranium? Where's the titanium? Who controls that? Because of our consciousness, nature restricts, and therefore there's competition for scarce resources. But the resources are scarce because the consciousness is polluted. This is the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So the devotee, the Krishna Bhakta, is the most practical person. I often point out that to call a person today a materialist is actually a compliment, because a true materialist knows how to live so that he or she enjoys now and in the future. But the so-called materialists of today are destroying themselves now and destroying their future. They're destroying their own habitat. They're threatening each other with nuclear weapons. Did you know that last year, just 1 year, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of so many public health concerns, in the 9 nuclear-powered nations of the world, they spent in just 1 year on more nuclear weaponry, they spent $82 billion. If you break that down minute to minute, that means every minute last year, $150,000 was spent on nuclear weaponry, every minute. Is this human society? No, this is a society of persons in doggish consciousness. I'll threaten to destroy you because you're threatening to destroy me. Many people have the illusion that we need nuclear weapons in order to be free. What kind of freedom is that? So all these mad ideas come because we've forgotten Krishna's instructions. We're not paying attention to what Krishna says. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita is always ready to give you a refresher in what are the real components, the real items of a human civilization. Yagya, dana, tapat, karma. The karma, the activities of a real human civilization are yagya, sacrifice, dana, charity, and tapa, austerity. These are so important that in the same verse, Krishna says, even the great souls are purified by these 3 components. So what to speak of those who are not great souls? We have a great job to do as the world becomes more turbulent. We have to point out the origin of the turbulence is this bodily conception madness. By that madness, there'll never be peace and there'll never be more than momentary prosperity. People are so hungry for momentary prosperity that just give them a few moments of so-called wealth, so-called stability and health, and they think, oh, now I have everything. I've had a few moments. That's not a real human civilization. A real human civilization offers you the stability and the health to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. How will the people ever know this without thorough education? And who is able to give them that thorough education? It's very rare that you can go to a church, temple, synagogue, or mosque and immediately hear, "You are not the body." People call themselves religious, but they have no idea of the basics of spiritual life. So this temple here has a great responsibility to educate its members and educate the general public as to what is a real human civilization and what are the components of a real human civilization. So I wanted to raise these points to you so you can hopefully see how insightful Bhagavad Gita is. How everything Krishna says is connected to a complete and comprehensive picture of what is real prosperity, what is real success, what is real peace. All right, perhaps there are some questions. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Dhanapram Maharaj. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to you. I have a question like you mentioned that the human civilization. We know so-called leaders today, even they are not educated like so many we see the leaders. They are misguiding the people based on the name of civilization and then creating the havoc in the society, like giving the fears or because of the safety of the country, we are creating these kind of atomic bombs or this. So because of the fear, they are misguiding the people. But being a Krishna consciousness, how to approach them, because the general people follow the leaders. So in place of like teaching the general people, best approach can be approach to the leaders. So through them, this movement go faster way. So just I want to like get your idea, Maharaj.
You can do both. You can try to approach the leaders, but also you approach the people. Supposedly in a democracy, the people elect the leaders. So you can go at it both ways. You try to reach the leaders and you try to reach the general population. As Prahlad Maharaj pointed out, the blind lead the blind and they all fall into the ditch. So why not try to educate the leaders as well as the general population? If enough of the general population is spiritually educated, they'll know how to pick a genuine leader. And if a leader happens to become spiritually conscious, that leader can do something to help the people. But also you have to educate the people, because even with the best leader, the people can resist. So we have to do both things. Educate the leaders and educate the general population. Very good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you so much for a wonderful lecture and enlivening us with the differentiating or giving us the difference between the body and the soul and how one should be conscious of in a spirit soul. So that is the so as it says, forgetfulness is our root cause, root problem. Forgetfulness. We tend to forget because of our entanglement, our conditioning. So as a grihastha, as we are all entanglement every day, every moment we are entangled with this day-to-day things and activities, how a grihastha can perfectly situate that remembrance of lordships and so that he can progress.
How can a grihastha, what's that?
How can a grihastha can always situate in that consciousness of that I am part of the Lord, I'm not part of this material body, but it's always
Dana,
happens.
by giving charity, giving time, giving money, giving intelligence. Bhagavatam says, pranaya artaya diya vacha. You can give your prana, your whole life energy in charity. Artha, you can give your wealth. Diya, your intelligence by making plans how to give Krishna to others. And vacha, you can give your words, always speaking about Krishna. And you can give all those, all four. Pranaya, artar, diya, vacha. Spiritual economics means going to work to give, not to get. I'm going to work to give myself a spiritual lifestyle, a bhakti lifestyle, give it to my family, and give it to as much of the world as my resources allow. That's why I go to work, whether it's my own business or I'm employed by someone else. This is completely different consciousness. The spiritual economics is completely different from someone going to work to get for me, this for me, that for me and those bodies that are near and dear to my body. So you'll see a complete transformation in consciousness by going to work to give. You become enlivened in that way. You can tolerate so many inconveniences at work because your purpose, although you look externally like everyone else who's working there, your inner purpose is different. I'm going because of dana, charity. I'm giving. My resources will allow others to be Krishna conscious. First of all, myself. I need to create a bhakti lifestyle for myself. And I need to do that for my family. And then, of course, at least some resources for helping others outside my bodily network. If you have billions, you can make plans that the whole world can hear about Krishna. So that is the difference between material economics and spiritual economics. Remember that, please. Go to work to give. Yagya dana tapat karma. Nachajam karyam eva tat. Those three things are not to be given up by anyone because those three things purify even the great souls. What to speak of others.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, so many new people come to the temple every week and they may or may not know, especially young people when they come. Radha Shyam Sundar ki jai.
All right, what I heard is you come to the temple every week
Yes.
and you may or may not know.
Right. So when new people come, and especially young new people who've, grown up in America, they sort of don't have the culture that people born in India have. When they come here, even if they're Indian by race, they sometimes don't understand what's going on. Like, are we worshiping idols? What's the point? Is this some religious cult? So what's a nice way, simple way to, tell them what ISKCON, or the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is about?
You begin just as Krishna began in Bhagavad Gita, explaining that they are not the body, they are spirit soul. And you can point out that all their problems, individually and on a societal level, come from misidentification with the body as the self. Whether it's gender, I am this gender, you are of another gender, or you don't understand my gender, or ethnicity, nationality, land of birth, on and on and on it goes. You can explain that that's the cause of all the problems. Just like Krishna gives the example of how the body is always changing from childhood to youth to adulthood to old age. You can explain like that. Just like you change clothes, you change bodies. And only a fool would base his or her whole life on trying to be happy via something that you're not. And this is why there's so much frustration, which turns to anger. And then when people are angry because of lack of fulfillment, they become easily manipulated. And through that manipulation of body consciousness, the world suffers. Millions upon millions of people are destroyed just because of the bodily concept of life. This goes on again and again and yet again. So being a Krishna Bhakta is the most practical thing. It's the smartest thing. You can explain like that.
Maharaj, can I please ask one more if we have time? Maharaj, sometimes, or for people who are, the general public, they may have God somewhere in the picture, and we see that they'll come to the temple once a week or once a month or once a year, something like that, just to, hey, God is somewhere in the picture. But how do we really bring God into our lifestyle and, reconnect or reestablish a relationship with God on a daily basis?
You need to see a good example. Otherwise, you'll think it's all just religious doctrine, religious dogma, religious theology. But when they enter into the association of enlivened devotees, they see Bhagavad Gita in action. Be the change that you want to see in others. The association of devotees is transformative. Somehow or other get people to enter into the association of devotees, and they'll see the difference. Otherwise, you can't blame them. They think, oh, there's this religion, there's that religion, there's this Swami, there's that Swami, this Baba, that Baba, this God, that God. It reminds me of Prabhupada's answer. Sometimes when he was preaching in India, and someone would come and say, Swamiji, have you heard of such and such Baba? And Prabhupada would say, oh, every village has a Baba, which I don't. So that's how people feel. They're embarrassed by so many so-called options. So therefore, they need an experience of how bhakti is more than just a religious belief system. Maybe you've heard people say to you, I respect your belief system. I don't believe it, but you believe it, okay. If you believe it, that's fine. Everyone needs a belief. Whatever helps you get through the day and night. Whether it's Krishna or scuba diving or I've had persons tell me that. Educated persons. We appreciate that you're into Krishna. This one's into surfing. That one's into scuba diving. Whatever, you know. Whatever you believe in. Whatever raises your self-esteem. So unless they have the association of devotees, they'll think that you're just speaking another religious belief system and the world's already having enough of that. But bring them into kirtan, give them Krishna Prasad, give them transcendental wisdom, and they'll see the difference. All right, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna.
Let's thank Maharaj with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Everybody can take their seats for some time. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by a family, Dwanil and Pooja Rawal. I don't think they are here. Dwanil and Pooja Rawal. Yeah. For the pleasure of Sri Radha Shyam Sundar, Sri Jagannath Balla Subhadra, Sri Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled Vaishnavas, the book distributions codes for last few weeks, total Lakshmi points is $584 by Paramananda Chaitanya Prabhu, Nitya Lila Gaurangi Mataji, Gopal and Govinda, Achintya Prabhu, Sandeep Prabhu, Srimati Mataji, Kunal Prabhu, and Semeshwar Prabhu. Let's thank them with a loud Haribol, Haribol, Haribol. Okay. Bhadra Purnima is right around the corner. If anybody do not have a Srimad Bhagavatam set, please contact Semeshwar Prabhu and Sankirtan team. They can get it. By the way, 201 Lakshmi points of books of one set of Srimad Bhagavatam and other small books were distributed yesterday as part of the Govindas by my humble self. Hare Krishna. Let's have prasadam. Hare Krishna.
Today, Maharaj can